speak for a few minutes. She is the mother to Isabella in kindergarten, Catherine in 6th grade, and Becky, who just performed for us. Clarissa is also the mother to former Oak Grove students Matt, Stanley, Lizzie, Jessica, and Josh.
Thank you. And thank you for letting me share my experience of Oak Grove this morning. When I was asked to speak at this team, after initial panic, I thought, the quiet revolution, I'll ask the kids, get their feedback. Over the last few weeks, their thoughts and memories have flooded in over emails, cups of tea, and conversation, and even a text from my 11-year-old Catherine. Hi Mom, Oak Grove makes me happy because I can be myself and people treat me nice. I was amazed by the strength of emotion each of my very different children felt for this school. 8 kids from 5 through 26, all sharing the extraordinary collective experience of Oak Grove and this one recurring theme. This school lets me be who I am. In my family, I came to understand the quiet revolution has become a reality. For everyone in this room, there's been a moment in life when you stood on the brink of an experience, and then the moment when you decided to take the plunge, jump in, commit. As a parent, I stood on the brink of Oak Grove. It was so alternative out there. Teachers were addressed by their first names. It was vegetarian, and perhaps worst of all, my children could all be turned into hippies. So I called my friend Jessica Nava. Her son Matt was the same age as my daughter Jessie, and a student in the 6th grade at Oak Grove. Hey there, I said. How's it going at Oak Grove? There was an unusually long silence on the end of the line. You know, I have to say the origami is going really well. I was stunned. It turned out I knew surprisingly little about origami in the context of an educational experience. This wasn't just a little phase. These kids were consumed by origami. Matt was making his own designs. 3-headed dragons, dinosaurs, and you name it, out of little squares of paper. Origami that ended up in an art exhibit in New York City. I'll never forget that conversation because it was the catalyst. Origami. I took the plunge and dived in. My children, Jessica, Joshua, Samuel, Lizzie, Matthew, Becky, Catherine, and Isabella have all jumped in too. They have been a part of the quiet revolution that takes place here every day, all around us, on this beautiful campus. My eldest child, Jessica, was the first to dive in. Later, she graduated with honors from Stanford, taught herself Catalan, and received her master's from the University of Barcelona. She worked in the film industry in London, and then as curator and program director for a museum in Santorini. Last year, she gave up her job so she could finish a novel. She wrote to me from London. Oak Grove introduced me to a concept of pursuing without fear our individual paths in this world, a self-knowledge that has granted me the confidence to pursue what others might consider an impossible dream. In this modern age, there exists a central lie about education, that milestones and success are the only true goals, that these iconic aspects of achievement and reward have become the definition of success, and by extension, happiness. At Oak Grove, my kids have been encouraged to stay in touch with themselves, to discover who they are and what they would like to become. This quiet revolution of one taught them to be aware of the whole, to know it's not about noise and volume, it's about connectivity and communication. This kind of quiet, in a world full of noise, is very unique and powerful, both in the whole and in the individual. My 3rd child, Samuel, struggled at school. After high school, he apprenticed with a tattoo artist in Santa Barbara. It seemed he closed the door to the concept of education. He now works for a special effects house in Los Angeles. And yes, he's covered in tattoos. My favorite is the small one on his right wrist. Aún aprendo. I am still learning. I was moved by the email he sent me. Well, as you know, I've never been a good student. But what Oak Grove did for me couldn't have been done anywhere else. The school taught me there was more to learning than what is found in a book. I remember watching a film about Krishnamurti. What he said about education has stuck with me ever since. There is no end to education. It is not that you read a book, pass an examination, and finish education. The whole of life, from the moment you are born to the moment you die, is a process of learning. Matthew, my youngest son, is a freshman at UC Davis. He told me, Oak Grove helped me to discover more about who I am, by allowing me, putting it bluntly, to be me, and to develop my silly sense of humour. Becky, my 16-year-old, and a junior in the high school, has a unique relationship with her 5-year-old sister Isabella in kindergarten. One day, on the drive home, Isabella told me that when she feels sad, Dorinka, her kindergarten teacher, takes her by the hand and they go on a Becky hunt. When they find her, Dorinka lifts Isabella up, so Becky sees this little head emerging, arms waving, in the middle of a history class. There's no school I'd rather be going to, says Becky. I'm making memories I will cherish forever. My oldest son Joshua is a poet and teaches undergraduates at UC Irvine, as well as studying there for his MFA. His reflections about this school are very tied to his thoughts about poetry. This idea of living in the moment, he wrote, has been really important to me for a long time, and is pretty central to the way I look at the world and approach my writing. I think about it all the time, mostly because it dovetails nicely with what I consider to be good writing. Poetry grounded in razor-sharp attention to detail within the world, interrogation of the self, and attempts to develop a powerful empathetic understanding of the subjective frameworks of others. Being at Oak Grove encouraged the kind of thinking that has become pretty crucial to me as a poet. And I might not be here, writing and teaching, if not for that. But no one should mistake a quiet revolution for one without strength, in the individual, in the family, and in the community as a whole. Last year, my daughter Lizzie was diagnosed with MS, an aggressive form of the disease that shook all our lives. The way Lizzie has dealt with this discovery, her strength, courage, and beauty, as well as the strength she has found in her family and the Oak Grove community as a whole, is a testament to the foundation laid here, in all of us at this school. Driving away from another of her endless doctor's visits, a battery of tests, and more bad news, I asked her, "Don't you ever ask yourself, why me?" Lizzie was silent for a moment. "No," she said. "In fact, I make a point of never asking myself that question, because that would mean putting myself above other people." None of this makes any sense to me right now, but it's the journey I'm on, and hopefully one day I will understand it, and it will have a place in my life. That courage, that insight, and that perspective was born right here on this campus, within the embrace given to her by these teachers in this school. A quiet revolution that started with truth, self-knowledge, deep understanding of others, and intrinsic constant kindness. We shouldn't ever equate quietness with lack of strength. What Oak Grove has given is a quiet revolution that stays with them every step of the way.